Hi, I'm April Best Glover, and I'm here to welcome you to Introduction to Artistic Intelligence, the other AI. And we're here in the Carousel of the Louvre. Before we get started, let me talk a little bit about my purpose. My central purpose is to excite you about the arts and to broaden your sense of what your own artistic intelligence adds both to your life and to general culture. And my second purpose is equally important. It's to illustrate the correspondences between artistic intelligence, what goes on in the arts and culture, and artificial intelligence, which relates to what goes on in science and technology. There are a lot of very interesting relationships, and I think you'll really enjoy learning about them. And my third and maybe most important purpose is to make a piece of art. And I hope that piece of art you'll enjoy and participate in. So let's get to it. We're starting here at the Carousel in part because it's a place that illustrates the connections between artificial intelligence and artistic intelligence in a very concrete way that illustrates aris, which is the root word from which both artificial and artistic stem. Aris is a Latin word which variously means art, craft, or skill. And when you're here, one feels very deeply the craft, the skill that underlies this place. And it's not just because we're standing beside the entrance to the Louvre, a temple to the arts and culture, or we're standing very close to the entrance to the largest Apple store in France, a temple to science and technology. But also the tangled web we have here of technology and fashion, food, and theater. Everywhere around us, we can see that design is very much entangled with the arts and culture. And technology is never far behind. In fact, design and the application of ideas from the arts showing how design and the arts and culture will provide the edge for your technology company. And all this is wonderful and really quite true, but what I'm going to tell you is completely free. And why it's different, and even why it's free, is bound up in the definition of art. And art is one of those words that is really fought over. And you have an idea, I have an idea. But I think of all the definitions I've ever heard, Tolstoy summed it up best.
To evoke in oneself a feeling one has once experienced, and having evoked it in oneself then, by means of movements, lines, colours, sounds, or forms expressed in words, so to transmit that feeling that others may experience the same feeling, this is the activity of art. Art is a human activity consisting in this, that one man consciously, by means of certain external signs, hands on to others feelings he has lived through, and that other people are infected by these feelings and also experience them.
What's so great about his definition, and what's so incredibly useful about it, is that it's medium independent, system agnostic. It's a definition that works well on the entire spectrum and continuum of how we use the word art. From the art of cooking, where when you cook well, you transmit the sensations of taste which you've already felt to others, to the kind of traditional artwork that one finds here in the Louvre, to the work of contemporary artists working today. With such a broad definition of art, how do we organize our thoughts about art? How do we organize a sense of what our artistic intelligence really means? And that brings us to why we're here, really why we're here. The central reason that sits in the center of this beautiful space. What we're going to talk about are the two pyramids, One, you see, made out of stone that sinks into the ground, and yet you have a sense can go on forever. And the other, glass and metal that extends into the sky. They don't meet, but they come very, very close together. Just to organize our thoughts, let's imagine that one of those triangles is art and culture, and the other triangle is science and technology. Tolstoy's definition lets us know emphatically that any categorization or hierarchy is ridiculous, that all these things are art, yet at the same time there are people whose profession is to be an artist, and even though cooking is an art, generally cooks refer to themselves as chefs and not as artists. So let's see if the other triangle, science and technology, can tell us a little bit about how we can organize art and culture. Imagine for a moment that the bottom triangle is art and technology. The divisions here too are arbitrary, but slightly better acknowledged. In general, science is understood to be the search to understand the basic underlying principles that govern our universe, and that technology is applying those scientific principles to create practical and useful devices that we use every day, like computers, telephones, satellite systems. Even though science is about discovery, in point of fact, most scientists don't make discoveries. Real discoveries are rare, very rare. So we see, to be a scientist is to devote yourself to the search for those basic principles, not necessarily to find them. Using this analogy, let's return to art. We see that the arts are the search for new and novel ways of transmitting our experiences. And culture is the application of known methods of transmission. This is not a very standard or orthodox definition of being an artist or of culture, but for the next 10 weeks, we're going to look at it and try to see if, novel or not, orthodox or not, it's in point of fact true. And if it's true, then artists and scientists are trying to grasp the same airy space between those triangles, only from very different directions and with very different toolkits and points of view. And in the next section, we're going to look at why, particularly in the West, artists and scientists look at that same airy space in such different and divergent ways.